friends, welcome to Kamath Astrology. In today's video, we will do an ascendant-wise analysis of Jupiter transit in the sign of Capricorn from 14th September to 20th November 2021. I had already done a video explaining the general impact of this transit on the world. So if you want to look at that video, you can go to the description section. But in this video, we will do the ascendant-wise analysis of this transit. So now let us look at this chart. And this chart shows that on 14th September, Jupiter moves from the sign of Aquarius in a retrograde motion into the sign of Capricorn. Now Jupiter had entered the sign of Aquarius or Kumbh on April 6th, 2021, and then around mid of July, that is July 21st, 2021, Jupiter started becoming retrograde, and now he's continuing in that retrograde motion and again re-entering into the sign of Capricorn on 14th September 2021. So whenever a planet is going retrograde, it goes back to the previous sign to complete some unfinished task. Also, if it is going retrograde, it makes us look into certain previous aspects of our life. And this is what we will try to explore in this video. So Jupiter moves into the Dhanishta Nakshatra, whereas Saturn is right now in the Shravan Nakshatra. So although Jupiter and Saturn are in the same sign, they are not in the same Nakshatra. Nevertheless, this is a conjunction between Saturn and Jupiter in the sign of Capricorn along with Pluto. And as I explained in my previous video, this forms a Nichbhang Rajyog. That is, Jupiter gets the support of a strong Saturn, as well as it forms a Dharma Karma Adhipati Yoga, because Jupiter rules Sagittarius, which is the 9th house, and Saturn rules Capricorn, which is the 10th house, which means if you are doing your duty religiously and honestly, then you will get success as a result of this transit. So let us start with the Aries Ascendant or the Mesh Ascendant. Now for the Aries Ascendant, that is where you can see the letters UR, that is Aries Ascendant or Mesh Ascendant, Jupiter rules your 12th house and your 9th house, and he is entering into the 10th house, which represents your career, your workplace, your karma. And here he is conjuncting with Saturn and Pluto. So here it forms the Dharma Karma Adhipati Yoga in your 10th house. Okay, and therefore, if you do your work very dutifully, very honestly, this transit gives you success. But remember, there will be some initial delay, some initial obstacles, because Saturn is there and Saturn represents delay. But overall, this transit guarantees you a success in your workplace. Also because Jupiter rules your 12th house and 9th house, it indicates some connections with foreign contacts, or you may travel because of some work related reasons abroad, and you may have certain expenses in this time period. But overall, this transit transforms your workplace, your career, and gives you great success. So this transit is very good for the Aries Ascendant or the Mesh Ascendant. Now let us move to the Taurus Ascendant. So Taurus is the sign where Rahu is placed right now. Okay, and for the Taurus Ascendant, Jupiter rules your 8th house of sudden events, 11th house of gains, and he is moving into your 9th house of good fortune. And he is conjuncting with the 9th Lord Saturn. So this is a very good time for you. It brings you overall prosperity. It brings you overall success. It can give you sudden gains, sudden good fortune, and things will be very good for you in this time, because Jupiter also aspects your ascendant. It aspects your third house of courage, and it aspects your fifth house of children. So you will get good news on all fronts, that is in your workplace, from your children, and you will be courageous and bold to take the right decisions in this time period. So overall, a very good time for the Taurus ascendant also. Now let us move to the Gemini ascendant or the Mithun ascendant. So for the Gemini ascendant or the Mithun ascendant, Jupiter is your 10th lord of career and 7th lord of marriage and partnerships. And he is moving into the 8th house of sudden events and transformations and conjuncting with Saturn and Pluto. So definitely on the health front, you have to take great care of yourself. Also, because Jupiter is your 10th lord and 7th lord moving into the 8th house and conjuncting with Saturn and Pluto, it indicates a great transformation awaits you either in your married life or with respect to your career or business. So there will be sudden changes in your workplace, on your career front, okay, as well as with respect to your partnerships. Now Jupiter aspects your second house of wealth. He aspects your 12th house of foreign journeys as well as expenses, and he aspects your 4th house of property, vehicles and mother. Okay, so when Jupiter's aspect is actually a blessing, okay, and therefore this period will give you transformation, will give you challenges in your workplace, in your business, but it will also give you a lot of wealth and gains. There might be some minor expenses, okay, and if you are trying to buy a vehicle, if you are buying a new house, then Jupiter's aspect helps you to achieve those goals in this time period. So for the Gemini ascendant, you need to be careful about your health. There could be challenges in your workplace, but this transformation will eventually help you in a big way, and you will have lot of gains. You will also have some expenses, and if you want to invest in property, you want to buy a home, then Jupiter supports you in a big way. Now let us move to the Cancer ascendant or the Karka ascendant. For the Cancer ascendant, Jupiter is your 6th lord of conflicts and 9th lord of good fortune, and he is moving into the 7th house of partnerships, okay, and conjuncting with Saturn, who is also your 7th lord of partnerships. So some initial challenges will come in relationships with your superiors, with your elders, and anyone with whom you are partnering, for example your spouse. So there will be initial challenges, but since Jupiter is your 9th lord also, it will give you the ability to overcome these challenges, and something good will come out of this. Also, Jupiter aspects your 11th house of gains, where Rahu is placed right now. He aspects your ascendant. Saturn also aspects your ascendant, and he aspects your third house of courage, where you can see Mars and Mercury. So definitely this transit of Jupiter is going to bring about some sudden gain, but it will also give you some initial conflicts, some initial challenges, and eventually good will come out of that. Let us move to the Leo ascendant or the Sinha ascendant. Okay, and you can see that for Leo ascendant, Jupiter rules the 5th house of children, love affairs, speculation, and he also rules the 8th house of inheritance, sudden events and transformation. And Jupiter is entering into the 6th house. So since the 5th lord is entering into the 6th house, you need to take care of the health of your children. Okay, this is very important. And second thing, because Jupiter is also your 8th lord moving into your 6th house, it is forming a Viparit Rajyog. Okay, So initially you might face some opposition, you might face some enemies, you might face some challenges, but suddenly all of these enemies, all of these challenges will seem to just go away. Okay, that is, you will win over your enemies in this time period. If you have any loans, if you have any debts, you will be able to repay them easily. So this is a mixed time for the Leo ascendant. That is, this transit brings you mixed news, some good news and some challenges with respect to your children. Another thing you need to be very careful about is if you are in some kind of love affair, because Jupiter is your 8th and 5th lord. Okay, and it indicates that you might get into love with a person from your past life, and that person is just coming into your life to settle a karmic debt, which is represented by Jupiter entering the 6th house. Okay, so be very careful when you are getting into any such love affair, any such partnership, because that can cause an heartbreak. Okay, so just take care of this aspect, otherwise this transit is okay for you. Now let us move to the Virgo ascendant or the Kanya ascendant. Okay, for the Virgo ascendant, Jupiter rules the 4th house of property, vehicles, peace of mind, mother, and the 7th house of partnerships and marriage, and is moving into the 5th house of speculation, of romance, okay, of children. And from here, Jupiter is aspecting your ascendant, he is aspecting your 9th house of good fortune, and is also aspecting your 11th house of gains, which means this is a very good transit for you. It gives you gains, it gives you a lot of wealth, and it also gives you a lot of good fortune in this time period. You should pray to Lord Vishnu, and that will enhance your good fortune. So this transit brings good news for the Virgo ascendant or the Kanya ascendant. Now for the Taurus ascendant, thou Venus is present in the ascendant. Okay, Jupiter rules your 3rd house and your 6th house, right? And he is moving into the 4th house. Now the 3rd house represents your courage, your communication skills. Okay, the 6th house represents disputes, and 4th house represents property, peace of mind, happiness, and your mother. So this means that because of your communication issues, you might get into certain disputes related to property, okay, with your siblings. So this is one thing you need to be very careful about in this time period. That is, sudden property disputes may crop up for you in this time period. If you are driving a vehicle, be careful. You might experience a sudden breakdown of that vehicle. Okay, so these are two aspects where you need to be very careful. Another aspect you need to be aware of is the health of your mother, because eventually Jupiter is your 6th lord entering into the 4th house. Okay, and therefore the health of your mother needs special attention. Now since Jupiter is your 6th lord, the way you can mitigate these negative effects is by serving small animals. Okay, you can also feed the cow outside a temple, and this will help you overcome most of these challenges. So for the Tula ascendant or the Libra ascendant, this transit will bring property related challenges. This transit will bring disputes due to your own communication. So these are the things you need to be careful about, and you should engage in serving the poor, in serving animals such as the cow. That will give you a lot of relief. Now let me move to the Scorpio ascendant or the Vrishicka ascendant. You can see that in the sign of Vrishicka or Scorpio, Ketu is present right now. Okay, and that itself brings about a lot of detachment. So for the Scorpio ascendant, Jupiter rules your second house of wealth and family, and also your fifth house of children, romance, speculation, and he moves into the third house of communication of siblings. Okay, so some issues in the family with respect to your siblings are going to occur in this time period, but you will get a lot of gains from speculation, such as trading, etc. Okay, dealing with the stock market and your own investments. Secondly, you will get a lot of happiness from your children in this time period. Now, sitting in the sign of Capricorn for a Scorpio ascendant, Jupiter aspects the seventh house of partnerships where Rahu is there. Okay, it aspects your ninth house of good fortune, and it also aspects your 11th house of gains. So, what this means is monetary gains are definitely there for you in this time period. You have the blessings of Jupiter, that is God Himself. Okay, only thing you need to be careful about is in this time period, you will face some family related disputes with your siblings, and that is what you need to take care of. Again, because Jupiter is entering your third house of communication and conjuncting with Saturn and Pluto, try to be as practical as possible in your communications. Okay, rather than saying something ad hoc which may cause regret later. So, this transit gives mixed effects for the Scorpio ascendant. Now, let us move to the Sagittarius ascendant. For Sagittarius ascendant, Jupiter is your ascendant lord, as well as he rules your fourth house of happiness, peace of mind, and mother. And he is entering into the second house of Capricorn, which represents your family, your wealth, and your speech. Okay, so ascendant lord and fourth lord moving into the second house is a very good thing. Okay, this transit tells you to relook at certain issues within your family, certain issues related to your home. Okay, and it also asks you to relook at the way you speak, you deal with your mother and your partners. Okay, this transit gives you a lot of wealth, but it can bring you health issues because the ascendant lord is going into conjunction with Saturn and Pluto. Also, you need to check the health of your mother in this time period because Jupiter is also your fourth lord. So, if you are buying a home, if you are investing in vehicles, you could experience some delays there because Saturn sits with Jupiter and can cause delays and obstacles. So, wait for Jupiter to move into the sign of Aquarius and then go for these kind of activities. So, overall, this is a mixed transit for you. Not very good, not very bad. Now let us move to the Capricorn ascendant. For the Capricorn ascendant or Makar ascendant, Jupiter rules the 12th house of expenses, of isolation, of foreign journeys, and the third house of communication, speech, and courage. And he moves into your ascendant. Now, Capricorn natives are already stressed with Sadesati. Okay, so for Makar Rashi, Sadesati is at its peak because Saturn is transiting the natal moon. And Jupiter's entry here is going to give you some relief. Okay, so Jupiter is going to bring something good in your life. He is going to cause some kind of transformation which will make you feel good. Whenever Jupiter transits your natal moon, remember, it brings about a lot of optimism. And whenever Saturn is transiting the natal moon, it brings about stress. So Jupiter is going to give you some relief from that stress. And from the sign of Capricorn, Jupiter is going to aspect your 5th house, your 7th house, and your 9th house. So it is also going to give you some good fortune in this time period. It is going to give you gains in partnerships. It is going to give you happiness from children. Being the 12th lord and the 3rd lord, it may give you some short distance journeys in this time period. It may give you some expenses over your siblings in this time period, but it will give you a lot of good fortune. It will give you good news from children, and this is also a good time when you will be able to relate more closely to your partner. Now let us move to the Aquarius Ascendant. For the Aquarius Ascendant, Jupiter rules your 11th house of gains, 2nd house of finances and family. Okay, and he is moving into your 12th house. This means in this time period you are going to spend a lot of money on unnecessary things. Try and avoid this. Okay, you might also wish to travel somewhere to a far off place with your friends. While this is good, be careful about the COVID situation in the country. Okay, take well informed decisions. Do not waste your money unnecessarily. Try to indulge yourself in learning some new thing, in doing some kind of research, and that will give you benefits. Let us move to the Pisces Ascendant or the Meen Ascendant. So your Ascendant Lord is Jupiter, as well as the Lord of your career, that is your 10th Lord is Jupiter, and he moves into your 11th house of gains. Okay, so for a Pisces Ascendant, this transit is bound to give you gains in your career, gains in your workplace. Okay, as well as lot of friends in this time period. But since Saturn is present in your 11th house, okay, this transit requires you to look inwards, to think in a deeper way, to introspect more. Jupiter here is asking you to relook at your friend circle, to relook at your career, what is working for you, what is not working for you, and if necessary, what changes need to be done to make it work for you. So Jupiter is telling you to introspect within yourself, to look into your career, to look into your relationships. From here, Jupiter aspects your 3rd house where Rahu is placed. He also aspects your 5th house of children. Okay, and he aspects your 7th house of partnerships. So overall, this transit gives you a lot of success and good news. Only thing is, you need to deeply introspect with respect to your career, with respect to your business, with respect to your friendships, and with respect to the relations you maintain in your life. So friends, this is the ascendant wise analysis of Jupiter transit into the sign of Capricorn in a retrograde motion starting from 14 September 2021. Jupiter becomes direct on 18th October 2021, and in the direct motion he will then enter into the sign of Aquarius on 20th November 2021. So if you like this video, please mark it as liked on YouTube. If you have not subscribed to our channel Kamath Astrology, you can do so by clicking the subscribe button. For any queries, any consultations, email us at astrosevaworld@yahoo.com. You can also reach us through our website astroseva.tripod.com. So friends, thanks a lot. Bye. Take care and stay safe.